Welcome to Flawedoffroad. Today's video is going to be about installing one of these Poison Spyder hood louvers on a Jeep YJ. So I've laid out all the tools that you're going to need as per what the manual says. Some of them you could probably get by without. But this is what it calls for: hammer, punch, 1/8 inch Allen wrench, some scissors, anti-seize, some masking tape, 3/4 and a 1 inch hole saw, which that's what I think you could get by without. 3/8 wrench. You'll need a 7/16 to get these guys off. And then your cutting tool of choice. Now it talks about using a jigsaw. You can use a cutoff wheel grinder. I'm going to be using my brand new toy, which is a sheet metal nibbler. I actually saw this on another YouTube video and I was like, alright, I gotta have me one of them. So I bought it like a month ago and I've yet to find a purpose to use it, and I believe this is going to be it. So you just attach this to the drill, and it's got a little bit that moves up and down in here, and it just takes little bites out of the metal and chews right through it. So anyway, now that you see what you need, let's get started. Also, I wanted to point out, this isn't my first set of hood vents. I actually did a video on making your own hood vents, which you can also do these on top if you don't feel like shelling out the money for the Poison Spyder hood louver. I won mine. I would have never paid that much for one of these. I won it. It was free. That's why I'm doing it. But I'll link this up above. Check this video out and you can do your own for free. So before we get going here, a couple things I want to touch on. There's a standard cut line and an optional cut line. And in order to do these optional ones, which are there and there, which open up more of the louvers to actually be able to breathe, you have to be a little bit more careful with your cutting because there's a giant hood brace that runs down the center of this and down this end of the hood, and you can only cut through the sheet metal but not through the brace, and then drill some holes in the brace to allow the airflow through. I don't think it's all that necessary. I'm going to just go with the standard cut line, but if you are going to do the optional one, just make sure that you don't just buzz all the way through it with a jigsaw or something. You're going to want to take a cutoff wheel and just very lightly buzz through the top layer. Poison Spyder recommends that you remove the hood and throw it on some sawhorses to do this. I'm kind of running out of room in the garage right now, and I can't do that. So what I did was I opened my hood, I laid a tarp out to catch all the little chunks of metal and stuff that are going to fall through, and then when I'm done, I'll just pull that tarp out of there carefully, and that'll be that. So I'm going to just do it right here on the Jeep. One of the first things it wants you to do is to remove these little guys, which I've already removed the nuts. Ooh, that one's stuck on there. And there's little holes that you poke that correspond with them. 2 here, 2 there, and 2 there. And then you lay this on there. Poke those through the holes to kind of locate the thing. So let's go ahead and do that. I've already removed these nuts when I had this apart to put the tarp under there, but it's just 7/16 wrench for these outside ones and a 3/8 for this inside one. And there's 2 little backing plates on these outside ones that you can just hang on to. So after you have those loops back in, if you're satisfied with how this is laying on here, make sure it's not off to one side more than the other. You can shift this back and forth a little bit, but once you're satisfied with it, go ahead and tape this down with some masking or painter's tape. Make sure to kind of try to pull some of the slack out of it so you don't end up with huge lumps everywhere. Right now we're not even going to be marking these holes. We'll use the actual hood louver for that. We are marking the center of all these crosshairs, which basically those depict everywhere that there's a corner where it changes directions, and that way your hole saw will kind of create the corner for you, and then you just get to do the straight lines in between them. Just make note to only do the ones on the standard or these optional ones depending on how you're doing it. So I kind of to block this up a little bit just because I got this tarp under here to catch the shavings, and it was like really close. All right, let's make some holes. Alright, so after doing that, I kind of realized why they want you to remove the hood now. I mean, it's not just about the shavings, it's about, you know, your drill wants to slam through the hood when the hole gets finished, and so hopefully I didn't poke anything. I mean, the tarp's down there, there's some space, but just be careful if you're doing that. Alright, so this is what I've been waiting for, and that is to try out this nibbler. Now, I'm not going to dive right into trying to make my final cut. I'm probably just going to come out here and make kind of a goofy cut just to get the feel for this thing and go from there. So it's got a cutter on either side, so like when one goes dull you can switch to the other, plus it comes with an extra one and then this little tool thingy. And so of course I'm not going to read the directions, I'm just going to go for it. Oh, that is neater than shit. Ooh. Oh no. A little tricky to get back out though. Leave some nice little curly shaped shavings. So now that I tested that out, we're gonna go ahead and make some lines to follow to make this just a wee bit easier. Alright, so before we get too carried away, so there's my tarp, keeping all that shit out of the engine bay. If you wanted to do those additional holes it was talking about, it was gonna border on this brace and that one at the back. And honestly, I didn't really feel like messing with it. Shouldn't be anything to interfere with it, so let's get her cut. Alright, so now that we got that set back on top, we actually use the hood louver as the guide to drill the holes that hold it down. But the first thing you do is you put all these loop thingies back through the hood louver and through the hood and put the nuts on. I've got 2 of them on already. This is the last one here. And don't forget the little backing plate dealie. Preferably, you know, drop these nuts down in your engine bay a couple times. I hear it's a really fun ordeal. Alright, so these holes are slotted that those all just went through. And that allows you to kind of fine tune this. And that's why we didn't tighten them down yet. We just kind of snugged them. Remember earlier I said I cut enough of that decal away so that it wouldn't be sticking out. So the instructions say to basically put those 3 in and then go to your 4 corners, use this as the guide, drill a hole, and put some of your stainless hardware in with anti-seize and snug them up. And then go around one at a time, drill a hole, put a bolt in a nut, drill a hole, put a bolt in a nut, go from there. And then it says to tighten them in a crisscross fashion when you're done, and that is it. Let's finish this up. Okay, so for these last few holes, the instructions call for drilling through both layers because there's a support under here with the normal drill, and then grabbing a 3/4 inch hole saw and coming on this side, and you find the hole that came through and you drill a little hole in this part so that you can access to get the nut on. Now this one actually looks like it's gonna be right on this border, so I'm not sure. It said those two center ones would be on a brace, but if you look, these ones are all right here, and it kind of looks like those two center ones will just follow that, so I'm not sure about that. The one that I know for a fact has to go through is that center one right there, and you can see I already drilled through both layers, so I need to take a hole saw and make an access hole for the nut. I actually forgot the two that go there and there. I'll get those in a minute. Alright, so there it is. All I have left to do is clean up my metal shavings and tighten these down, and then we are done. So anyway, thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel, like the video. We'll see you in the next one.